Today in history. It is June 25th, and we're going to continue with our journey to the past. And before we move on, like you said in the very beginning of today's broadcast, maybe even before the show began, today is a day to remember for the Korean people and maybe to the world as well. It's War Memorial Day.
Yeah, it's the anniversary today, June 25th,
the
right?
Korean War, yes.
Of course, very important to remember. All right, so yes, we do have two events to share with our listeners today, and we're going to get to them in just a moment. But first, here's my quiz question. George Orwell was an acclaimed English writer who authored novels such as, number 1, Animal Farm, or number 2, Vegetable Garden. Okay, one more time. George Orwell was an acclaimed English writer who authored novels such as number 1, Animal Farm, or number 2, Vegetable Garden. If you know the answer, please put it on our Bundy board, or you can also text in pounder sharp 1045 on your cell phone for 51, and you could win an usan.
And we are going to talk about two main items among all the wonderful and great and significant things that happened on this day in history. So I wonder what happened on this day, June 25th, in the past, and here they are.
Today in history. In 1852, Antoni Gaudi was born, and in 1903, George Orwell was born.
Like we said, today is a day that carries many meanings, both good and bad. And from all those events, we'll take a look at some that made an impact of their own in their respective fields.
That's right. So let's begin with the world of architecture, which saw the birth of one of the most prominent exponents in the field, Antoni Gaudi, if I'm pronouncing his name correctly. He was born on this day in 1852.
네, 세계적으로 가장 유명한 건축가 중 한 사람으로 꼽히는 안토니 가우디, 1852년 바로 오늘 출생일입니다. And Gaudi's works enjoy global popularity and admiration, with most of his works located in Barcelona, Spain, as you see in 보이는 라디오 right there.
Pretty cool, huh? Well, among his pieces, 7 have been designated UNESCO World Heritage Sites, with the most outstanding one being the unfinished Sagrada Familia Church, the most visited monument in Spain today. Look at that on Poinen Radio. That is absolutely gorgeous, is it not?
Right, it is. Definitely a must-visit place. The inside of the church was meant to resemble a forest, and although the piece was never finished, it is considered the testament of Gaudi's architectural evolution and a legacy of the development of the building technology of the late 19th century and early 20th century. And it's too bad that he never got to see the completion of the construction before his death.
But of course, I've never been there, but at least from the photos, it looks like it was near completion.
Yes.
Right? So still able to be enjoyed by millions of tourists a year, I'm sure.
네.
All right, so let's move on now and talk about a pretty famous author.
We're going to move to the literary field in 1903, when one of the most influential English writers of the last century and one of the most important chroniclers of English culture of his generation was born.
Right, author of such classics as 1984 and Animal Farm. He was Eric Arthur Blair, better known by his pen name, George Orwell.
So that was not his real name.
Right.
His real name was Eric Arthur Blair. Okay. Well, known as a novelist, George Orwell was a successful journalist and essayist, and among his many works, he was highly praised for his concise writing style.
That's right. In fact, he left 3 specific rules for writers in his book, Politics and the English Language, and one of them was to never use a long word when a short one will do. Interesting, right? Also, never use the passive voice when you can use the active voice. And these rules have become a sort of guideline, I guess, for writers and journalists today.
Oh, yes. 그렇죠. 수동태보다는 능동태를 써요. Makes the sentence more dynamic 하다고 하잖아요.
Yeah.
그리고 짧은 단어로 쓸 수 있다고 하면 굳이 일부러 긴 단어를 사용하지 말자라는 그런 나름대로의 규칙을 남기신 분, 바로 지금 함께하고 있는 George Orwell 되겠습니다.
You know, I always preferred that as well. When I was an English major in university. And that's what my professor always told me. One of the lessons that stands out from him, his name was Terry Whalen, Dr. Whalen. He was such a fantastic professor. And whenever we would finish our essays, he would say, okay, now go and cut out 20%.
Oh.
And we said, well, some people said, oh, no, I'm pretty happy with it the way it is. I'm pretty sure, that it can stay this way. He said, no, I guarantee at least 20% can come out. Because his lesson was, you have to remove every word that is not absolutely essential to the meaning of your essay.
That's some redundant words.
Then it becomes a little redundant. Right. So therefore, you're going to make your essay much more powerful by removing all of those redundant words. Such a wonderful lesson. And I think that applies to speaking as well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
컴팩트하게 만들고. 근데 우리가 이제 외국어, 특히 이제 영어의 경우밖에 좀 잘 모르지만 하다 보면은 이게 내가 하는 말이 너무 짧으면 좀 없어 보인다라는 생각을 하게 되는 거예요. Just feel like maybe you need to say more, maybe using some more like complicated and sophisticated words to make myself sound like more intelligent. Maybe that's not quite necessary though.
But it was really fun to go back and look at your essay and say, okay, do I need this word? No, actually, I can take this word out. This one, do I need it? Oh, I definitely need this one. So it really made you analyze the words that you were using.
맞아요.
Yeah, it was great.
네, pay more attention to your own speech and
That's
writing.
Right. That's
네,
right.
그렇죠. 자, George Orwell의 얘기였습니다. Okay, before we wrap up, so what's the answer to your quiz question?
All right, let's find out. George Orwell was an acclaimed English writer who authored novels such as number 1, Animal Farm.
Okay, and today is a very special day for George Michael and George Michael's fans because it's his birthday.
Hey, happy birthday, George Michael. So please enjoy your own song.
That is...
Kissing a Fool.